Uh, well, good night, everybody. This is special English broadcasting for overseas Koreans, and it's past 10 o'clock. And I talked over the phone with one Korean American today, and they want some special comment on the hot political and the diplomatic issues in South Korea, so that Korean Americans and many Koreans overseas can understand what's going on around the Korean Peninsula, and they want to know that is politics okay in South Korea, and what are the problems and what are the solutions then for the South Korean people's benefit in overall terms. So today I will briefly touch on two issues, especially national security issues and also one corrupt scandal regarding Daejangdong land development scandal. Corrupt scandal is making people very angry, and the public sentiment is boiling out of control. First, let me talk about the end of war plan as South Korean President Moon Jae-in and also Foreign Minister Chung Eui-yong visited the United States and talked about the need to end of the war plan as we made an armistice agreement in the 1953. So many people in South Korea is wondering why leftist Moon Jae-in government is raising the issue so frequently and with much emphasis, saying that the peace will be made by declaring end of the war between concerning parties like North Korea and United States, possibly People's Republic of China, but conservative critics here, liberal conservative critics here are criticizing, saying that stop discussing end of war plan here because it's premature and the scheme will be utilized by North Korean conspiracy plans, possibly making the American troops in South Korea withdrawn by the scheme if the end of war plan declaration cannot be properly dealt with by the concerning parties, because the content of a declaration could be almost to the level of a peace treaty, so that sometimes the articles and content can produce binding measures, even though we are saying that it's only declaration, but declaration can include some content with binding measures. This is the question. As we read the news, the director of the National Security Office in Blue House visited Washington a few days ago, and he met United States National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, talking about these kind of peace plans. Possibly United States is not in a hurry discussing these kind of issues, but leftist Moon Jae-in government is raising this issue again and again, making frequent visits to Washington. But as everybody understands, the preconditions for dialogue raised by North Korea is not accepted by the United States. Only United States want dialogues without any preconditions. But North Korea always emphasizes ending joint military exercises between South Korea and the United States combined forces, and ending hostility policies toward North Korea, something like that. But United States is again expressing that there will be no incentives just for the dialogue itself. So this issue is raised again and again, but no radical changes in the current security framework, and many South Koreans want to stop discussing end of war plan in the United States and also in Seoul. As we were surprised that so many times North Korea's military assault, like conducting 4 missile tests only in September alone. It tested long-range cruise missiles on September 11th and 12th, and also fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles from a train-borne launcher into the East Sea on September 15th, and launched a short-range missile into the East Sea on September 28th. And as we already understand, earlier in the year, it launched cruise missiles on January 22nd and March 21st, and the short-range ballistic missiles on March 25th. So it means that North Korea's provocations are creating some tensions on the Korean Peninsula, and they are pressuring South Korean government to seek dialogue channel, moving Washington's changing Washington's stances into a dialogue with some preconditions, as I told you, completely stopping the joint military exercises in South Korea, also abandoning hostility policies toward North Korea. But we are very cautious now about this kind of North Korean provocations and political propaganda. And I think that Moon Jae-in leftist administration should stop further discussing end of war plan declaration, something like that. Because declaration is declaration. They are saying that it has no political implication, but it is politically very important. If this kind of declaration is made, it is naturally escalating into peace agreement, and possibly to the benefit of North Korean side, withdrawal of American troops on the Korean Peninsula. So this is a very crucial matter, I think. And also regarding one domestic issue, the special prosecutor is the answer. The title is special prosecutor is the answer. As South Korean society is in turmoil regarding Daejangdong development scandal, as private developers took too much benefit out of the land development plan. And as we all understand, the corrupt and the predatory cartel of politicians, lawyers, and local government officials and authorities is making people so much angry, because the amount of bribes and the amount of benefit which went to private development was too huge. And actually this corrupt land scandal is one of the most largest size ever since South Korean Republic was built. So yesterday, President Moon Jae-in ordered thorough investigation of the scandal, but many people have a strong doubt that whether thorough and fair investigation will be made, because Lee Jae-myung, who was officially appointed as the presidential candidate of the ruling party, Lee Jae-myung has already too close connections with the ruling camp, and even though special prosecutor is the only answer to have thorough probe, and people is actually expecting that kind of fair and thorough probe into the case, but without special prosecutor investigation, only police investigation and the current prosecutor's office investigation under current prosecutor general is not creating much trust among the people that they will investigate the case thoroughly. As everybody understands, Yoo Dong-gyu, former acting president of the Seongnam Development Corporation, and Kim Man-bae, a major shareholder of Wacheon-daewoo, an asset management company, are the major bodies of the corrupt scandal. But this corrupt development plan was made when Lee Jae-myung was the mayor of Seongnam City, and he supervised and finally decided, the development plan. So, this is a very important development scandal, corrupt scandal, to be investigated thoroughly and fairly for the South Korean, social justice, I think. And even though President Moon Jae-in ordered, through investigation from the Blue House yesterday, many people are doubting that is the real intention of the current power, or actually, even though President is saying like that, the prosecutor office will be investigating, rather to end the investigation in such a short time span, so that protecting the ruling party candidate Lee Jae-myung, something like that. So people's public sentiment is boiling out of control regarding this issue, and already many people are predicting that if through investigation is made, probably current ruling party candidate Lee Jae-myung could lose his qualification as ruling party candidate, but it remains to be seen how the result will be coming out. And a group of private developers earned unimaginable profit from the project, and many people are wondering where those huge amount of money was used, and where is that kind of huge profit being accumulated, and nobody is sure of what's the end of the money flowing, such huge amount of money. Even though Seongnam City profited some amount of money, but the share was too small, and the private developers benefited too much, and it is unimaginable. So South Korean society is in turmoil nowadays regarding the scandal, and I'm emphasizing again that special prosecutor is the only answer. And I want opposition parties and public opinion groups and citizen groups again must urge the government authorities and the current power to accept special prosecutor investigation. Okay. I think sometimes my English commentating will be helpful to Korean Americans, and the Korean English, Korean Australians, Korean Koreans living overseas, so that they could understand some part of Korean politics and security issues, because they are so much concerned about the Korean situation, what's going on in South Korea, because they were so much proud of such a miracle and economic development and democratization. But nowadays, during the last 4.5 years, the position of South Koreans and also image of South Koreans are in some sense falling down due to economic failures and some leftist government wrong policies, and also South Korean constitution is sometimes damaged by accepting some socialist policies. Many points they are worrying about. So tonight I just briefly touched on the two issues. One was still our government too much concern about the declaration of end of war plan, something like that. And also second one is the Daejangdong land development corruption scandal, which is causing a lot of moral hazard and social injustice to South Koreans. I will finish today's short English commenting, and I will see you